Hey, what's up, guys? This is a video that's been requested for the longest time now. And I thought I'd make it now. And the reason for that is because I've kind of been uh, going through a little phase where I'm just confused about what I want to do. And you've probably seen that I haven't been posting a lot of videos. And the reason for that is because a lot of the books that I've read lately have just all been complete bullshit. Okay? Um, Here I am. I read 300 pages of a book, and there's one idea that the author wanted to tell me. He could have summed it up in one sentence, and that was, just work harder, man. Just work harder. And that's 300 pages of a book. And then I have to take that bullshit book, and I have to sit there like an idiot, write a script about it. I can't even turn it into anything that I think can be meaningful. And then I just have to make stuff up that's not even the book itself, right? So I've kind of been going through that little phase where I'm like, what am I even doing? And I'll probably start just, making my own videos and talking about things that I think are meaningful and helpful and that I'm passionate about. But all of that whole thing kind of got me thinking about what were the books, the really good books that actually affected me in a really deep way and kind of changed the way I did things and were really influential in my life. And I kind of went through the books and I came up with 9 books. 9 books that I think have played a huge role. So that's kind of something that I'm going to share with you. So let's start with the first topic. It's going to be money. And I have 2 books here. And money's a really weird topic to me because it's something that I get asked about the most. I'd say over 80% of people asking me stuff, it's about money. How can I make more money? But it's also something that pisses people off the most when I talk about it. So it's kind of a weird topic. But anyway, here are the 2 books, right? One is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The other is The 4-Hour Workweek. Now, before the PhDs in the audience get, really pissed off, how could you recommend such improper financial books? Those are not proper books. I should be recommending, The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith. This is a proper book, right? Over 700 pages of really dry things that you'll never understand. So look, if you want to read this book, then spend your life learning theory, then go get your PhD, then come back to the same university you studied at and teach the same book, then go ahead and do this, right? I have nothing against Adam Smith. I love this, but it's not going to help the average person watching this. But if your goal is to create a life, not even create a life, have a chance at creating a life where you don't sell every single second of your life to someone else so that at the end of the month they can give you a little money so you don't die of starvation, then these 2 books have played a huge part in kind of the way I've done things after I graduated from college. Now, the criticism that the 4-Hour Workweek always gets has always been really weird to me. It's always something like, well, you know what? Most people won't be able to achieve this. You're giving people false hope. And guess what? It's true. Like, most people watching this won't be able to create a life like this. Okay? But I don't know how that's a criticism of the book itself. Here's a little book The Enchiridion by Epictetus. Okay, it's a little pamphlet. In fact, you don't even have to read the whole thing. Just read the first page. When you read the first page, you'll find that you've just read something that you'll never be able to accomplish for the rest of your life. You might get better at it, but you'll struggle with this for the rest of your life with one page. And most people won't be able to do it. So hopefully you don't look at Epictetus's Enchiridion and say, oh, that's giving people false hope, so it's not a good book. It's the same thing with the 4-Hour Workweek. So anyway, these are kind of the two books that I highly recommend. Now, the next topic has to do with social intelligence. And this is really important because if you're a human being, chances are you'll have to interact with other human beings. And you have to know how to do that. And so the two books here are How to Win Friends and Influence People and the 48 Laws of Power. Now, some people will really like Dale Carnegie's book because it's a nice book. It teaches you to be nice. But this one's mean. You don't read this one. Okay, to me, these two books are the same shit. Okay? They basically tell you the same thing. One is a little nicer. One is like a little more blunt. Okay, so both books will tell you, make the other person feel important. This one will be like, but be sincere about it. And this one will be like, people are assholes, make them feel important. Okay? To me, it's the same thing. And I've read a lot of books on, like people skills and negotiation. All of that comes down to these two books. This is literally over 90% of everything that you'll ever need when dealing with other human beings. Now, the next three is kind of a weird, I don't know what category to put it into, but it's basically becoming a man and becoming a master at things and mastering things. So the first book is The Way of the Superior Man by David Deida. This has always been like my Bible. And I'm sorry to the women who are watching this. Even though if I was a woman, I'd still read this. But this is basically targeted towards, like the target audience for this channel is mostly guys. And if you look at the demographics, it's like the biggest number of people are in the 18 to 34 males. So, The Way of the Superior Man, the first part is going to teach you basically how to be a man, right? What it means to be a man, and it's probably going to be very different from how your daddy was. And then the second part is going to help you understand women, right? And that was one of the most frustrating things when I didn't have that understanding, and it would always be like, why did that happen? Why did she say this and then that happened? Why did she change her mind all of a sudden? Why? What happens is when you understand how all that stuff works, at least you won't have that. You'll still have conflict. You'll still get into fights. You'll still have your heart broken. But guess what? You should never come at a place where you're like, why did it happen? Okay, that basically never happens to me anymore. It's like something bad might be happening, but I know at least why it's happening. There's nothing confusing about it. So instead of putting the blame on the opposite sex, oh, they're just so weird, understand them, right? So this is kind of the Bible for any man. And then the next one, Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. This is just a book that you have to read, and it's like the whole book's a story. So it's like super cool. It'll kind of change your perspective on things. One of my favorite stories from this book is, so he survived multiple concentration camps and stuff, and they're basically in this horrible condition where they have to wake up really early. They march to this place. They work all day. They barely get any food to eat. It's freezing. They don't even have socks. Their feet are so swollen they can barely like fit them in the boots. They're basically dying from their feet. And so they're standing there working. They finally get to the place early in the morning. And then after a while, they see a bunch of people being taken to prison, right? And they look over, and they start wishing that they were the prisoners. And it's just such a crazy thing, because if they were the prisoners, then they would get actual calories. They wouldn't be freezing out there, and it would just be way better. And it just kind of gives you a different perspective on life. It's like what are the things that you're complaining about from day to day? Oh, I didn't like the way my coworker said that to me. It's like, just imagine, next time a cop car drives by and you see a prisoner being taken to prison, just imagine what kind of situation you have to be in to think like, I wish I was that person. So this is, you have to read this. And then finally, Mastery by George Leonard. If you're planning on getting good at anything, if you're planning on mastering anything, this is required reading. Before I read this, it was always like, I'd start doing something and then I'd be like, why am I not progressing? And I would get discouraged and I would quit and do all these like weird things that there was no reason for. You have to understand how the process of mastery works, and this book's going to explain it all to you. So that is that. And then finally we have 2 more books. And these 2 topics are the most important topics to me. These 2 are way more important than, the money, the social intelligence, all of that. But the reason I didn't put them first is because of this. And the topics, by the way, are Stoicism and Mindfulness. What I tend to find is that if I come to you, let's say you're a 21-year-old guy, and you're not getting laid, and you don't have any money, and you don't have a social circle, and you're not influencing any, you don't have all of that, right? And I'm like, hey, I know you're not getting laid, but let me talk to you about mindfulness. This is an important topic. What I tend to find is that people don't really resonate with that as much. Even though that would be the thing that would help you the most in the situation that you're in. Right? But what generally happens is like, oh, I don't really care about that. I want to make money, right? So, guess what? Do all of that. Make the money, start getting laid, start having friends, do all of that. And what will happen is you'll realize, now I have the money, but guess what? I'm still stressed out. I'm still anxious. I'm still pissed off at things. So after a while, what you realize is that it wasn't the car that was the problem. I had a not so nice car. When I have a nice car, then everything's going to be fine. And then you have a nice car and you're still pissed off. And when you get there, you realize it's not the stuff outside me that's the problem. It's you that's the problem. And once you realize that, these 2 topics are going to be really important. So mindfulness by Dr. Jon Kabat-Zinn. Anything by Dr. Jon Kabat-Zinn is awesome. But I like Mindfulness for Beginners. I think it's a really good book for anyone who wants to explore this topic more. Its subtitle is Reclaiming the Present Moment and Your Life. And that's basically what it is. Because now you have all those things that you wanted, but you're sitting there eating a really nice meal, stressing about what's going to happen tomorrow at work. Okay? So the things around you aren't the problem, you're the problem, and you have to realize that. And then the other topic that relates to that is Stoicism, right? And I'd recommend anything by Epictetus or Seneca or Marcus Aurelius, but what I find is that someone will watch a video of mine on Stoicism and they'll be like, I like the example that you gave of that car. I want to know more about this. And then I tell them about, hey, go read the Enchiridion by Epictetus, and they go read it and they're like, I didn't understand anything. It was so dry. There was no examples. I have no idea what he's talking about, right? So what I thought I'd do is kind of give a contemporary version of that. And so that's the reason I'm putting The Obstacle is the Way on here by Ryan Holiday. And one of the reasons is because Ryan's an awesome dude. And the other is this will hopefully get the idea to you without, boring you or confusing you or just you not understanding what's going on. And once you have that, then you can, start exploring it more. And, highly recommend anything by Epictetus, Seneca, or Marcus Aurelius. So there you go. That's the 9 books, right? Again, Money, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The 4-Hour Work Week. They had a huge impact on me. Social Intelligence, The 48 Laws of Power, and How to Win Friends and Influence People. And people ask me, like, what about business? What books about business? And I think there are some decent books about business, but I don't read that many business books. Business is like pretty simple. Someone wants something and you sell it to them. And we tend to like really overcomplicate it. Like, if you want business, understand these two, okay? Because you're going to be having to deal with people in business, and these 2 books are going to help you do that. And then these 3 right here, The Way of the Superior Man. You have to read this if you're a guy. Man's Search for Meaning. Just an awesome story, and it'll kind of put things in perspective. And then Mastery by George Leonard. For anyone who's trying to get good at anything. Okay, this is kind of like, this will explain the whole process of mastering anything, whether that be, I want to be a professional fighter or a professional pianist or a professional whatever. And then finally, the 2 most important topics to me. And that is, one is mindfulness. And that's Mindfulness for Beginners by John Kabat-Zinn. And the other is Stoicism. And that is The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday.